Soraya, it's Jeff. How's it going?
I am good. How are you, Grampy?
I'm doing great.
And how is little Kaylin?
So cute. So cute. It's our ninth grandbaby.
Woo!
Yes, so
Man.
it was so exciting to meet my 2-week-old grandson.
Love it.
He's so cute. I miss him already.
And congratulations on your daughter's graduation.
Thank you so much. We're so proud of her. So she got her master's in nutritional science from ECU, and we got to see her walk to grab her master's, and we were very, very proud parents.
What a wonderful event.
Mm-hmm.
And little baby to boot.
Exactly.
Your daughter's to be commended. That is an awesome, awesome feat.
Yes.
An accomplishment.
Yeah, it definitely is. Speaking of wonderful events, while I was doing that, you and Joy and Dean and a bunch of our other friends were at the Grammy Museum.
Yes, we were on Monday, May 6th, and we got to see a panel discussion and followed by a performance of 3x4 by Rain Parade, Dream Syndicate, Bangles, and 3 o'clock.
I can't wait to hear all about it. So I'm going to have to live vicariously through the three of you. So we are going to invite Dean and Joy to talk about it. So let's get started.
Boom. Hi, this is Soraya.
And this is Jeff.
Our podcast is called Paisley Stage Raspberry and Rhyme.
A podcast where the two of us play music that we like and share anecdotes and background about the tunes.
We hope you'll join our conversation. And without further ado, a grooviar.
Let's get groovy. All right, let's add these guys to the call.
Hello.
Oh.
Hey, guys.
Hey, my darlings. How is everybody this fine evening?
Doing great. So we've got the dream team back together again, the 3x4 dream team.
Yay.
So you guys...
that one.
I was busy on Monday the 6th while you guys were experiencing this 3x4 event at the Grammy. So I was telling Soraya, I'm going to have to live vicariously through you guys, and I need to know everything about it. So the three of you guys, did you guys all sit together at the event, or were you in different spots?
We were in different spots.
Cool. So
yeah.
So different vantage points.
I was a little bit further back.
Excellent. So
yeah, he was further back, but we made sure to get our Dean sugar in.
Oh,
we got some sugar.
I did make my way over there. Yeah, I like the spot, like kind of in that second section and the second row up, because you get a really great view of the stage, and there's no heads in front of me, so I really feel like I had a great kind of view of it, but I wasn't as close as the other two.
But that's cool.
Yeah, but you know what? Mental note: I'm going to sit there next time.
Why is that?
Well, because there were so many heads in front of us.
Yeah, that's
no,
why.
Seriously,
You know,
the guy in front of me.
Yes.
He would cock his head to the left, so I'd move a little bit the other way, and then he'd cock it back. I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
That's exactly why I sit there. Unless I can be in the front row, I'm going to deal with that issue all night, and I don't like that. So, yeah.
Note to self.
Well, Dean's a pro. Dean, how many events have you been to at the Grammy Museum?
Not as many as I would like. I mean, I would probably say only about like 30 or something. But I mean, I've seen some incredible, Brian Wilson, Glenn Campbell. I've seen so many wonderful, wonderful events in that room. And it's one of my favorite spots to be at. So I was really happy that they were able to pull this together with these guys, because that room is special. And not just because it's in the Grammy Museum, which also has that, added element to it, but it's intimate, and the sound is really good in there too.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know how many seats there are in that little room in the Grammy Museum?
I think it's 200.
200, yeah. And so this particular event sold out rather quickly, I believe. I know it was sold out by the time the show started. That's for sure. And
Oh yeah.
people were hammering.
Oh yeah,
to
like
get to...
24 hours after the general. I mean, there was a rumor, there was a glitch, and it was coming up as sold out, but it wasn't really sold out when it was still just for members. But then I believe when it went to general sale, it sold out pretty quick right after that.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Well, very cool. Well, let's talk about the event, you guys. So when you got there, everybody got seated. How did they start it? Was there like an MC or a host, or how did they jump in?
Definitely.
So who was the moderator?
Scott Goldman oversaw the interview. He's I think the executive director there now, or he's a director at the Grammy Museum. And he's the one that, if you've been there before, you've probably seen him. He's got kind of the longer dark hair, and he always wears he looks like he would have been in an 80s cowpunk band.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Perfectly put.
So he came up first? Is that what happened?
Yes.
He comes out first and kind of just introduces, the bands, and the bands came out.
Yeah, there was a panel. The panel talk was first.
Okay.
So he kind of introduced, gave a little background on the Paisley Underground scene in Los Angeles, then talked about 3x4, and then mentioned, and we have members of the band here today. And so he begins introducing them. So first out was Danny Benair and Michael Corcio. And then it was Sue Hoffs and Vicki Peterson. Yeah. Wait, am I getting the order wrong? And then Steve Wynn came out last, I think. And then Rain Parade was represented by Matt Pucci and Stephen Roback. And Scott Goldman kept pronouncing Pucci as Piucci. And then later in the performance, John Thoman, he announces in the mic, I've known this guy, like 45 years. I've known this guy 45 years. His last name is pronounced Pucci. Matt Pucci. It was hysterical.
Yeah, I'm like, somebody had to say it.
Yeah.
Somebody did.
It was brilliant.
That's hilarious.
They were all seated in front. Scott Goldman's on the side, and he begins asking questions.
Oh, okay. So did he...
Yeah, there was only 2 members from each band that were participating in the interview part. So yeah, everybody that she met was just the eight people, so they didn't have like every band fully represented on the stage.
Okay. Even 8 alone sounds like a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, I think Dream Syndicate only had Steve Wynn.
Oh,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
There were 7 of them. There were 7 band members, but yeah, still, later on, you'll understand why I say this. I mean, that stage hit maximum capacity at one point during the performances. So this was, I think, a really good way to kind of bring the audience in. And it was a really good discussion. And just, I learned fun new things. Dean, Joy, did you all learn something new from that time?
Oh gosh, yeah, that was such a good. Let me just say, my first impression of really just hearing, I've heard the Bangles interviewed and blah 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 blah, but to see Sue so, comfortable because her longtime friends sitting amongst her, you really got a sense of her personality in real life, and she is wicked funny.
Extreme. She
is funny. Yeah, and says things that I'm like, oh, she looks so tiny and sweet. I love her more now.
The comfort level between all of them was palpable. I mean, it was. I felt it from the beginning, and the way they kind of ebbed and flowed and walked in and out of each other's discussion, I thought was really neat.
So how did
and not just the comfort level, but also, and you can tell it in the album, just the appreciation that they all have for each other. Sometimes that comes with years and age too. I mean, I'm sure in the 80s, talking about personal relationships, we've all been there. We've all been younger. We don't really kind of appreciate the impact that people have on us. And I think you really get that, these are people that recognize kind of what they've shared together and how important it was, and love the fact that they can still be together and still get along and still be, friendly and learn from it,
Right.
I wonder if an album like this would have worked at any other time. Like the timing in everybody's lives and situations and careers and everything is just, like you said, because you have such, experience and maturity and perspective. Right. Yeah, it probably would not have, it would have worked in that the music is still great, but that level of appreciation maybe would not have been as obvious.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd have to agree with that. So Jeff, he starts out with the most brilliant question at the beginning. What's the origin of Paisley Underground? Okay, something that we've all talked about, read about, heard about, a lot. And Michael Curcio does the best thing ever.
What does he say?
He calls out Lena Litonwa.
No, he didn't.
Yes, and he said, Lena here, stand up. She stands up, gets applause, and he begins to say, well, and he begins to tell the proper story of the origin of Paisley Underground.
Wow.
I was so happy for Lena that she got recognized because she is part of this origin story.
Yeah.
And a lot of times her name gets left out. So I thought it was wonderful.
That's cool.
That's preserved for all eternity.
Wow.
Because these things are recorded and they're archived at the Grammy Museum. So, Jeff, even though you weren't there, you'll be able to go see the video of the whole event, but you got to go to the Grammy Museum.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah,
that's
guys.
something else
we
I
need
did
to do
not
that
know.
together.
What?
Right.
We need to take Jeff there and we can all watch it together.
Oh, honey, yes. No, that is a definitive field trip. Yes.
I'm definitely in. So Michael must have learned about the origin from listening to the podcast, I'm sure.
You're so bad.
Naughty.
So what were some of the other questions that the moderator asked?
The second question he asked, I thought was a really good one because I liked the answers that came out and I heard some new things. He asked, what was the root band for all of you? He says, all bands kind of have like a sound that they're looking at or admiring and is part of the basis of their band. And so, I mean, some of the names we've heard before, but the answer that I loved was, so Sue Hoffs is talking about the Bangs. And she goes, well, our root band was like the Beatles and the Byrds. And then she says, and when we gave our cassette to Rodney, and she said, and I was tenacious. I was calling him. I wanted to know what he thought. And he said, you guys are the mamas and the mamas.
Oh, nice.
And so she goes, so I guess, there's something, in the harmony that, is reminiscent of that.
John and Mitchie were getting kind of itchy just to leave the folk music behind. Saul and Denny working for a penny, trying to get a fish on the line. In a coffee house, Sebastian sat, and after every number they passed the hat. McQueen and McGuire's just getting higher in L.A., you know where that's at. And no one's getting back to Moncast. John and Danny, you know the wrong way. You can sing a song the way that you do. Let's go so. It's all you gotta don't you think I wish I could play guitar like you. John, Danny, and Sebastian said, I like how after every number they passed the hat. William White just getting higher in L.A., you know where that's at. No one's getting back to Moncast.
The Rain Parade said, Beatles, Birds, and Big Star. When Stephen Roback said Big Star, my brain just went, yes, I get it.
Nice.
Dream Syndicate they talked about Velvet Underground,
Yes.
but they also talked about that influence of the Nuggets compilation. They all just, all the other bands said, yeah, 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 yeah. And but he also mentioned, at the time, like when we were starting out, other bands like Joy Division, Echo and the Bunnymen, The Fall, they were also kind of an impact.
Oh.
And then,
Well, there was
yeah, go
there was
ahead.
one band that they named a couple of times that I didn't know, and I was going to ask you guys. The Unclaimed, was that a band that was mentioned?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Sid was in that. That was pre Long Riders for Sid.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I need to do some homework on that one.
Yeah, Shelly Gans.
Yeah.
Shelly Gans, The Unclaimed, they all kind of claimed that, listening to The Unclaimed and that kind of garage sound, but what they were putting out was really really an important part of their formations. And then with the 3 o'clock, Danny Benair talked about, all these other bands that you've heard, yeah, they were all a part of it. And then he mentioned Kaleidoscope.
Ooh.
And so, but also, we heard something that Jeff, we had heard on the podcast before when talking with Danny Benair, the mention of Amen Corner.
Oh, okay.
So, it was really neat to hear them all kind of say, yeah, so here are bands that we were listening to and bands that influence the sound that we were kind of looking for. And Dean, one of the songs they mentioned was Hey Little Girl by The Unclaimed. That was something Sue mentioned as hearing that and kind of having that be. And also they mentioned The Last.
Oh, I was just going to ask if anybody happened to mention that.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really cool to hear that discussion about these root bands. And then I liked hearing, there was one thing that Matt Pucci talked about a little later that I thought was just, it's something that just had me thinking. He said, you never take a toy apart. You can take a toy apart, but you never put it back together. And this project was like putting it back together. And if you think about it, that's sort of like taking a sound, deconstructing it, and putting it back together, but with a new perspective. That's true for all of them.
Yeah,
I thought it was just
I think I nudged you on that one and said, "Good quote."
I was writing.
I liked that
Ridiculous amount, but anyways, that's the teacher.
Wow.
And was it in that conversation where Danny kind of talked about being older than Michael and being almost an inspiration to Michael with his record collection, which I love because, I was always the older brother. I have a younger sister, and I feel like, I exposed her to a lot of music. And you always hear people that talk about like their elder brother or sister being the inspiration. And I can just imagine Michael going through his record collection and getting excited about some of the things that he had, and then that inspiration being right there in Danny's collection.
He said something so funny the way Michael said it. He said, after practice, because they practice at in Danny's garage in Panorama City, he said, if I'd been good, this was like my treat to go into the record collection and take something out to listen to.
Oh my God.
I love the way
he said it's like Danny gave me a little chocolate. A little chocolate as my reward. And he almost made it sound like, I don't know that this part is true, but he almost made it sound like I would go in and look and I would point, almost like Danny wouldn't let me touch it, but he would let me listen to it if I had been good.
That is so funny.
Oh my gosh. But Jeff, wait a second. So, and I'm kind of jumping ahead, but I'm going to go back in a second. So they all kind of started talking about their origins and how this scene kind of grew. And so Stephen Roback says, well, we kind of created our own world. And then he begins to talk about, and in these terms, there are these Paisley Underground adjacent bands.
Oh.
And I think, listeners of our podcast and other people who are Paisley Underground fans, we can debate this till the cows come home about who is Paisley adjacent. But Roback mentioned 3 bands. Okay, so I think we could all guess. Long Riders, Green on Red, and True West. He said, but they were kind of like Paisley Underground adjacent. And
yeah,
then
and
they
Steve Wynn
mentioned,
confirmed that.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to stand up and go, amen, bravo, but I didn't.
But notice what was left out. You know, there were many other bands, but, you know, these were mentioned. And then, you know, the infamous barbecues that Stephen Roback said, you know, these barbecues were a way for us to hang out, you know, since we had kind of created our own world. It was just our way to interact. And what are the things, Jeff, that I always say after an interview? Here are the links that are inevitable. And they added one more element. So the links are usually an ad in the recycler.
Yep.
Okay. Rodney, of course.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They added into that link at this panel the role of Rhino Records.
Ooh.
Like people working at Rhino and having contact. And then the other one was Music Machine.
Oh, the
That
venue.
they all, there was one gig and they all said, well, it was at this time. No, it was at this time, that time. There was a gig at the Music Machine with all 4 bands.
Nice.
Michael said he has a picture to prove it.
Yeah. The question was whether it was around Thanksgiving or not. But can you imagine those 4 bands on that bill?
Yeah, so that's kind of what
That's sick.
they relived at that 2013 Paisley Underground concert, right? When
Yeah,
those
which
4
they
bands-
did talk about that
Yeah.
and how great it was and how easy it was to come together and not easy to schedule and get everybody there in one spot,
Right.
but like once they were all together, just like it just, you know, happened like before. No years had passed. In fact, it was better than before.
Wow.
And then they brought up, which has been mentioned before, but that without speaking about it, they all stuck to set lists that kind of didn't go past 1983.
Right.
You know,
Which I love.
it just became instinctive to go right back to the genesis of it, you know?
Mm-hmm. I thought that was, you know, first of all, when he said it, I'm reliving that show in my head, and I remember the joy I felt, right? And I honestly, if I had stopped to think about it, I don't even think I would have made that connection that, you know, all the music was from a particular year. It was so magical. And then when he said it, I'm all, hey, that's right. Okay. You know, Pucci said it.
Yeah, I remember. I don't remember who that might have been Greg Alderetti, but somebody leaned in and said, "Oh, this isn't the Bangles. This is the Bangs."
Right. Yeah, it was Greg. It was.
Yeah.
You know, so in this panel discussion, and something Dean said just reminded me of it. Matt Pucci said, we were predisposed to like each other. And you can see that, you know, as they discussed, you know, that time of this scene, but then kind of jumping forward and like that 2013 reunion, and then jumping forward into 3x4, and then this event, you know, that predisposition is so evident. You know, there's a real respect, and like Dean said, there's something to be said of time and maturity and looking back with respect and love, you know, and you see that. You see that.
Yeah,
It's really-
definitely.
But Jeff, here's where for me the discussion got fun. Is they all kind of started sharing these little anecdotes about the bands, and so Sue Hoffs says, she tells this story. She says Columbia Records brought, and it was Peter Philbin from Columbia Records, brought Bruce Springsteen to see the Bangs. And she said, our first big gig at Magic Mountain. I don't know about you all, but I went to some of these gigs, these new wave, early 80s gigs at Magic Mountain as a kid. So
did I.
Show.
Yep, we all did.
So can you imagine Springsteen seeing the Bangles?
Oh my
And then
god.
I was trying to visualize that. It didn't seem possible.
At all. It just
I know, and I'm thinking, did he ride the Revolution first? I mean, it's like it's just hard for me to imagine.
Revolution. Were you on Revolution or the Log Jammer? Which one, Bruce? But I thought it it was really cool. And then the anecdote was Bruce Springsteen tells Peter Philbin, "This isn't going to work." And he was referring to, he said, my God, see, now I need your help. Springsteen, and it wasn't like, and my heart skipped a beat when she said, I said, "Oh my God, was he going to, take a crap on the banks?" But he said, like, I think the name
There's
was
there's too many singers.
That's it. Too many lead singers.
Like the Beatles didn't have multiple singers, which I think was a follow-up kind of comment on that. Well, like the Beatles had more than one singer,
Right.
but it was too many singers.
Can you imagine that? This isn't going to work. There's too many lead singers. And think about all the really good Bang/Bangle songs where they all.
That just shows you what Bruce knows.
Yeah. Well, he did put out "Born in the USA," so.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Not my favorite Springsteen tune.
He's got some great stuff.
And then, of course, they led into a discussion of Prince.
Oh, okay.
His interest in the Bangles, and that it was after Purple Rain. So it's that pivotal moment where Prince's star had been on the rise for a long time. But I think Purple Rain really captured a moment, like all the elements came together, and Prince was just jettisoned into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
And then
that movie brought it to people who wouldn't necessarily listen to him on the radio, that kind of thing. So that made him a household name after that.
Right.
Yeah,
like
Susanna even said she didn't know Prince until she heard "When Doves Cry." Like he wasn't even on her radar.
Exactly.
Right.
And then she talked about how he had given 2 songs to the band, "Jealous Girl" and "Manic Monday," and that "Jealous Girl" has never. They never recorded that song.
Okay.
And then, of course, that led to the discussion of 3 o'clock being sent to Paisley Park.
Nice.
And the infamous Mavis Staples story.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So good.
Michael on the bus being shuttled to an after party after all the Paisley Park artists had been flown out for the start of the Love Sexy tour, which is a great album, by the way. And then he tells this Mavis Staples story, which
I had never heard that story before.
Really?
I've heard Michael tell it. It's so good every time.
And just visualizing Michael and just George Clinton even in the same place together.
Elevator.
With Mavis Staples, and it was just like visualizing that story, and then just kind of the punch on that when he just kind of like, well, are we going to tell the I guess, am I the only one that didn't know the story?
Which one? The Mavis Staples?
No, yeah, we know because we've heard it, but why don't you tell it for the listeners?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So, he's talking about, going together and being up in the limousine, right? He goes into the shuttle.
It's like it's one of those, almost like a party bus where the seating is sort of in a round,
They're all in the round, and he's sitting there, and it's like George Clinton and Mavis Staples, and he's looking around, and he notices everybody is staring at him. And then finally, Mavis just kind of puts her hand on his leg and is like, "Honey, who are you?"
Oh my gosh.
And I can just imagine, like, feeling so out of place, Pardon?
Yeah. I just found it so funny that when the moderator said something, Paisley Park, and Michael's like, "Paisley what? Paisley, huh? Wonder where he got that name." And the guy, he didn't pick up on it. Like, he didn't get it. He's like, "Hello, you got that from," he got that because of the Paisley Underground.
And then, so Sue tells this Columbia Records story. 3 o'clock tells us Paisley Park. And then, it circles back to Rodney. And then this Dream Syndicate story I thought was so wild. So Steve Wynn begins saying that their first manager, Billy Bishop, was an engineer on Rodney's show. So he says, so the Bangs talk about Rodney gave us a lot of play. He really supported us. 3 o'clock, same. Even Salvation Army. So so Steve Wynn says, our first manager worked on the show. And then we decided to change managers. So we never got played on Rodney.
Ever again.
Ever again.
Wow.
And then Rain Parade said, we didn't get played on Rodney, but we got played on KXLU for the first time. And then in the UK, Nigel Cross kind of helped support and promote the band there. So it was interesting hearing these kind of origin stories of like first time getting played. Because Scott Goldman asked them all. Well, he asked Sue Hoffs, and this is how that part of the discussion got started. How did it feel hearing your song on the radio for the first time, or like hearing it being played? And so that kind of got the discussion started about, you know, first times and especially the role that Rodney played. And then that led into the discussion of the 2013 shows.
Nice.
Which, you know, it feels so big and so recent. It was hard for me to think, oh, this was 6 years ago that we were all there. And you know,
I know, and I just personally don't appreciate waiting so long in between shows. Come on, guys.
And Jeff,
Yes.
did you? So they began talking about the 2013 shows, and then something that Danny Benair mentioned on our show. Michael mentioned it. I want to say Steve Wynn has also mentioned it about this email chain.
Oh, yes.
Of
the evil email
talk
chain
about the project and you know how to organize it and what songs and what to do before they got to the idea of the covers. Who is what she's done? So Sue Hoff says, "Oh, I want to do what she's done to your mind," and then Steve Wynn just looks at her. It's about her.
Oh.
Did you hiccup?
Yeah, I did not know that. That was something
Me
else I
either.
learned.
Well, she didn't know that either, she claimed.
Yeah.
But also
Yeah,
he
she
said
was
that
like,
she was on the cover of the single, but she also didn't seem to remember.
Right.
Which I looked up the cover of the single. I guess it's just a pair of eyes, but I guess those are her eyes on that cover.
Oh my gosh! Now I gotta look at that cover.
I think
it's
that
about
did he
Sue.
say that you're on the cover of the single? with
Yeah.
her?
Yeah, like how could you not know?
So she didn't know even until the point of the panel discussion, or that came up in the
No, I think
email?
no. When she asked to
Sorry.
do that song.
Oh, I get it.
Sorry, I gotta backtrack. Matt Piucci told her that song's about you,
Oh.
and you're on the cover. Sorry.
Oh.
My mistake. Because Matt Piucci's face at that point, he just looks at her and he kind of like, it's about you. And she goes, what?
Oh my gosh.
And then she goes, I still want to sing it. But unfortunately, Michael had already claimed it.
Because the question was like, was there competition for the songs?
Yeah.
And they all said no. It was kind of a pretty natural gravitation to certain songs, and everybody was cool with it.
Yeah.
And so
Soraya, we first heard about that actually from David Shaw, the Yep Rock representative, and then we heard it from other people as well about that email.
Right.
Yeah, he was the one that let us know about that email chain that was going around. It was really interesting.
And that was for anyone who's listening and hasn't listened to previous episodes. So it was an email chain after this 2013 reunion show. There was one in Los Angeles at the Fonda Theater, and there was one in San Francisco at Fillmore. And after the show, they all kind of expressed an interest on kind of keeping something going and maybe finding a project where they could all participate because they really enjoyed performing together. And so they begin an email chain of Danny Benair. I guess the most active participants were Danny Benair, Vicki Peterson, Steve Wynn, David Shaw, probably Matt Pucci, although I remember those first three names
Right, yeah.
most. And so it would go back and forth. And then Danny at one point looks at Sue Haas and he says, and some people didn't answer. And she says, well, I never was included. So I don't know if she wasn't there or didn't see it. And the emails were about what this project could be, how they could participate, how would it look, would they do covers? Would they write an original song? And Vicki Peterson on this panel discussion said, at one point, there was a discussion about all four bands contributing and writing an original song, which blew my mind because I thought to myself, I would have loved to have heard even a draft of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. But as soon as she said it, she's like, then we all said, that ain't never going to happen. Not with everybody's schedule.
Oh, my God. Yeah. And then there was a part in the discussion. Okay, I gotta say this one quote that Michael Curcio said because it was the most beautiful quote I ever heard from him, and just because I find it funny. So they I think Danny Benair said that for this 3x4, all of it was tracked live with all the most modern stuff, recording and yada yada. And Danny Benair says, at one point he said, things went so smoothly and we were incorporating all these new tools. And he said at one point Michael just exclaimed, "I love modern technology," because I guess it just made it simple and easy for what they wanted to do, and all of it was tracked live, which I thought was really interesting.
Nice.
But this,
I know his was, especially on "Tell Me When It's Over."
Yeah,
that was just a guide. That was just a guide track. So when the other, instruments wanted to do their part and all that, they would have, a guide vocal. And I think the Bango said theirs was all live, like all of them together every time. Yeah.
And I know Rain Parade.
Wow, right?
Matt Pucci said that on a previous episode. He said, all track live, and he said, and it was beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah, it's impressive.
That is so cool.
But here's the part where, and I had to, thanks to Dean and Joy, I had to, and a couple of other friends, I had to remind myself. So they started talking about, the question was, have you ever stolen ideas or riffs from one another? So then it started this really interesting discussion about how hearing certain songs, they took it and kind of ran with it, made it their own, and then boom, you got a song. So Michael Curcio says, yeah, like the Naz's Open My Eyes evolves into Her Head's Revolving. And then
yeah. I just want to say something about that.
Yeah, please.
That is my favorite Naz song, and I can remember. I came to them sort of late, meaning like maybe 15 or 16, but still, I remember the first time I heard it, and I was like, "What is this? Who is this?" And, no modern technology to just Google it. So I had to ask around a little bit because I remember we were in a car and I didn't hear, I wasn't there for the DJ to come on and say who it was. So it took me a while to figure out who it was. Absolutely, it's my favorite. Fast forward to 1985 and, I'm full on 3 o'clock fan, fan of all 4 of these bands, but full on 3 o'clock band. Love the, Baroque Hoedown and 16 Tambourines. In terms of LP, little worried about sophomore effort, LPs, because sometimes the follow-up isn't as good. And I know they're working on one because I've been reading about it, and boom, I see the video for Her Head's Revolving. And I loved it. And I was like, okay, no problem there. This is going to be great. And now that they tell me this, how it's constructed and all that, it makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it makes perfect sense, like, why I like both of these songs. It's just sort of, meant to be, the way he was sort of describing it. He's got to sing over the riffs, And I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. And I know that's why I'm drawn to Her Head's Revolving, because I loved the Naz song so much.
Nice.
And then Steve Wynn said something really interesting. He said, you hear some songs and then you can hear this chord that goes over and over and over and like sparks something. And so he said, hearing Save It for Later by the English Beat, hearing that.
Right. Now everyone think about that riff, right?
Yeah. I had to listen to it to hear it. So
right. Well, I knew that one, but I had to go back and listen to the Dream Syndicate version
of Tell Me When It's Over. He says,
Tell Me When It's Over, because I kept saying I don't hear it, but I was focusing on the 3 o'clock's version of it. And when I listened to the original, I was like, well, there it is.
Yeah. And he also said the same thing. He said the unclaimed song, the Acid song, that evolves into, that's what you always say.
Now I got to go back and compare those because I didn't do that. So I thought it was just really, he asked some really interesting questions and I was impressed by the answers. And so, I'm like scribbling away. I go, okay, got to listen to that. I need to hear that again. But that one with
Save It for Later and Tell Me When It's Over. When you listen to that opening riff, it makes sense.
Wow. I can't picture that in my head. So now you've got me curious.
Yeah, we couldn't either. We had a little discussion about this earlier, and we couldn't either, but listening to it definitely does it. And then, when you listen, all you have to do is go back and listen to the Nas too. You definitely hear, a similarity to Her Head's Revolving too.
That one jumps out in my head a little bit easier than I still need to go back and do the Save It for Later, Tell Me When It's Over comparative because I just can't connect it in my head. I get it's the construct, and I think in my head is just trying to get the actual sound of the song because they both have such different vibes to it. But the Nas and 3 O'Clock one, I could totally connect that in my head. I think the other one that Steve mentioned was When You Smile, which was inspired by a Soft Boys song, Strange.
Yeah.
And when I go downstairs, the candle throws her shadow over me. And when I get downstairs, I pass the place she always used to be. And it's strange how no one else can see. Strange, no one else but me. And when I kiss her, I dreamed last night I was born 1,000 years ago. But when I woke up, I was lost with only one way to go. When you smile, I don't know what to do, 'cause I can lose everything in a minute or two.
Yeah, so he mentioned quite a few like that in the inspiration field.
Yeah, I mean, I know, I'm not sure if I mentioned this before on the other podcast. I don't think so, but, Mind Gardens by the Salvation Army, go listen to Welcome to Paradise by
Green Day.
Green Day.
Mm-hmm.
You will hear, you're like, oh.
Memories when as time goes by, the memories re-age your mind. All that's left is the time that's spent living in a dream's time between rising and dancing all night.
Dear mother, can you hear me whining? It's been 3 whole weeks since that I am your.
And
Yeah.
Billy Joe Armstrong has said that, he was inspired by specifically California punk rock songs. And I hear that he has even mentioned the Salvation Army by
Salvation Army.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, they all do it. They all do it.
So the last question before we heard the performances was he asked two, and one was, again, he kind of went back to, was there competition amongst the bands back then? And they all collectively said no. There was just kind of this natural order, and they said the banks always opened,
Oh.
but the competition was the songwriting. How do you like that?
Yeah, you know what? That would have bothered me. Of course, I'm not a member of their band, but that would have bothered me.
Why would it have bothered you?
Oh, sure. Have all the girls start.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Can't play with the big boys. We'll let you open, though.
Got it.
I don't think they felt that way. I don't
Right.
think they felt that way. And honestly, it probably had very little to do with the bands and everything to do with the clubs.
Oh, I'll
Yeah.
guarantee that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely not saying that has anything to do with, the other bands that they're playing with. I'm just saying would have bugged me a little.
So the last question he asked was, how does it feel to have renewed focus, like, as a collective? So this is when Pucci said, when you're a kid, you take the toy apart, but you never think about putting it back together. And this was a chance to do just that. And then Vicki Peterson, and this is kind of where the discussion really kind of ended, and then we transitioned it to the songs. She said, we wanted to celebrate each other. And that's what this project was. That's what 2013 was, and that's what this is. And I loved hearing it.
Nice.
Because there's just a real synergetic, positive vibe between all of them.
It's so special to be able to, because who knows if we're going to be able to hear anything from 3x4 live like that. That's what really made it special.
Yeah. The last time we spoke with Steve Wynn, he mentioned to us that, I hope this isn't the end. And, we, at least, Jeff and I kind of heard this hopeful tone that, maybe there's something beyond this. I really hope that that's the case.
Yes.
Oh, I know. Me too.
So this was the order, Jeff. Okay, so first song was the Bangles.
Opening again, always opening.
Holy crap. I just got onto that.
Be unbothered all over again.
Sorry.
All right, Jeff. What song do you think the Bangles did?
So nobody did any 3 o'clock songs, right?
That's correct.
So, Rain Parade. They did Rain Parade.
Talking in My Sleep.
Yeah.
And then the second song was the Rain Parade Jam Extraordinaire. Because it had almost everybody on this stage. And when we talk about it, I'm going to name all the people that were on the stage.
Oh, wait. So for the
Yeah.
Bangles performance, was that more of an acoustic kind of performance? The reason why I ask is because I saw a picture, and it looked like they all had acoustic guitars.
It was
Yeah.
Save.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about all that.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
I
it
just
was
want to
great.
go through the order before we break it down.
Got it.
So Bangles, Talking in My Sleep. What do you think Rain Parade did?
Did they do Dream Syndicate song?
When You Smile? Yeah. Okay. Then the third one was 3 o'clock. What do you think they did?
Oh, Tell Me When It's Over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Before he started, Michael says, this is the Steve Wynn. the
Steve Wynn hour.
Steve
Yeah.
Wynn hour. And then the last song was Dream Syndicate. What do you think they did?
Oh, Hair Takes a Fall.
Yep. Okay, so you got the order right. Okay, so let's backtrack. So we're going to go to the Bangles. And you're right. This was acoustic, and for the most part, they were unplugged. I think even Sue said we're unplugged, except for Annette.
Okay.
So it was Sue Hobbs, Vicki Peterson, Annette, Zelinkas, and then on tabla, it was Mina, the same person who does it
on the
on
record. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the four of them. Just the four of
Yes. Dean.
It's all yours, baby.
It was magical. I mean, as you know, it's funny because on the album, I think probably, to me, the most true to the original cover on there is Talking in My Sleep. I think it's the most similar of any of the songs in its structure with the original and the cover. But this took it into a whole other dimension. And because it was acoustic and stripped down, I don't know. It just, I kind of like got transported a little bit with their performance. The vocals were spot on. And and I love the tabla too. I mean, that just always sounds so good to me, but it just like that pierced a whole other level. So I loved it. I also just, like I said, I loved that it was the least faithful to the original live compared to how faithful it was on the album.
That's a really good point.
And her voice.
Oh my!
I'm
God.
pretty sure I said this during for the podcast for the album release, but just so ethereal and dreamy, and it's like he said, just really transports you. They said in the discussion that she used the word synesthesia to describe the Rain Parade, which is definitely true. And it, I don't know that I can explain the definition, but if you don't know what it is, it's kind of like hearing music, but also being able to see it at the same time, or feel it, or using some other sense. And with the Rain Parade, you can definitely hear it and feel it and all of that. But you know what? She did that too. Mm-hmm. That song, you could see it, hear it, feel it, taste it. It was just amazing. It was really amazing.
It was so earthy. That was the word that right after she finished strumming, I said, oh my God, her voice is just so earthy. And it was transporting you.
I just got goosebumps remembering it.
Her voice is just...
Sorry, 1 second there. There's a few goosebumps just thinking about it.
Totally, right? Yeah. Because literally, Jeff, you could hear a pin drop in that room.
Wow.
And it was, her voice just permeated every wall, every space, every air about everyone. She was in your soul. And like, I didn't notice it. And I think maybe because I was so close, I got to see it. She closes her eyes when she sings. Or at least she did with this one.
Oh,
her eyes were closed. Wow. And so I'm like, she's transporting too,
Wow.
It was beautiful. Beautiful.
It was beautiful. It was beyond beautiful.
That is so
and so you get in this wonderful, tranquil Zen mood.
and then
then Matt Piucci comes over.
So wait.
He comes onto they're setting up, and he comes up to the microphone. He goes, and now it's going to get loud.
Understatement of the year.
So like there was this peaceful, calm, tranquility, very Zen moment. And so you just hearing bling, 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 plug, 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 plug. So on stages, Matt Piucci, Stephen Robat, John Thoman, Steve Wynn, Dennis Duck, Vicki Peterson, let me see.
John.
Derek C?
Oh, Derek.
Derek, yeah.
Derek C, Vicki Peterson, Dennis Duck, Danny Benair. Then the Rain Parade drummer, I think his name is Stephen Junka.
Yes.
And then there was one other person, and I was trying to angle to figure out who it was. So if you guys remember, please let me know.
Wow, a whole stage full.
So all these people, and baby, they just start rocking. I mean, like, Joy and I, before the show, we had joked about that Memorex commercial, where your hair flies back and the guy's like, he starts sliding into the easy chair and the wine glass starts falling off because the sound is so booming. That's what this was, Jeff.
Wow.
Like melt your face. It was that hard. And
when it got done, I looked over at her.
Exactly.
Five guitarists. And I looked over at Soraya and I said, I've just been assaulted and I loved it.
dude, it
Sonically assaulted.
literally, that song went into your bloodstream and like it put 1,000 shots of adrenaline into your heart.
Wow.
It was a great version of When You Smile. I couldn't even believe that stage could hold that many people.
Yeah, he said, you know what? Everyone's up on stage because there's nowhere really for the band to be.
Right.
So we're all here.
Oh my gosh. But it was, and that drummer, Steven Junka, man, he was inspired.
Wow.
Inspired. So, so they, and you just see John Thoman, and John Thoman is just, he is in another world. And he is just, so before the song even started, he needed a little extra time to like get plugged in and all sorted. So Matt Fugees, any questions? Any questions? But dude, when he plugged in, he was transported. He was in another world, and you just heard all the distortion, all the pedals. I mean, I forget who it was. I don't know if it was Derek C. who brought out this huge pedal block, and I turned to Joy. I go,
yeah, it was Derek.
It's gonna get loud in here. So I mean, it was just this melding of sound, and it was super psychedelic. It was just,
you would have loved all the distortion and everything, Jeff. I could just see you just rocking out to this.
So one of the comments, Jeff. So Matt Pucci said, John Thoman is the David Gilmour of Rain Parade.
Nice.
So
that's right. Yeah.
And then I don't know. Somebody turned to Matt and said, "So what does that make you?
Oh.
Who does that make you?"
Yeah.
Oh my God! It was a remarkable version. I mean, like, look, and just like Dean's saying, we're seeing these kind of completely different versions, but man, it's creating this beautiful melody altogether. And then we get
what's interesting.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's interesting is that I'm sure it didn't seem like there was any talk beforehand about what they were going to do. So that 1-2 punch of being this very ethereal, kind of, cosmic vibe, and then that punch in the gut of the second one was probably their instinctive programming. They didn't talk about. I don't think they went ahead and said, "Hey, let's do it this way. I'm going to open with this song, and then you guys do this song." It happened, And so when that song kind of punched us in our guts, it was made more powerful by the Bangles preceding that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for 100%.
Sure.
Wait, so
after the show, Matt Pucci said, at first I was like, I'm going to come down and play one song, come all the way down here for this. He goes, but man, that was fun. Oh my God, that was so fun.
So was Steve, did you say that Steve Wynn was on stage or no?
Yes, he was on stage for almost every song. Any song that was plugged in, he was on stage.
So I'm real curious what the expression on his face was like while they're playing When You Smile.
Dude, he was in a zone.
Yeah.
He was just...
He would smile from time to time, but I gotta say, he is rocking this sweet pink Paisley guitar.
Nice.
And it was just really cool to see, but he looked like he was having fun.
Nice.
That is like so I think someone online called it the Rain Parade Orchestra.
Yeah.
Right? It is this huge ensemble, but it worked, man. It worked. It rocked. It was so good.
Nice.
And then we get to 3:00. Tell me when it's over. So let me tell you who's on stage for this one, okay? Because this was a great version too. So we've got Michael Curcio, Danny Benair, Luis Gutierrez.
Nice.
Awesome to see him there. Vicky Peterson, Steve Wynn.
Wow.
And then we've got
Adam.
Yeah, that's right. So Adam Marin, Jason Victor from Dream Syndicate.
Really?
Yes. And I think, if I'm right, please correct me, I think Mark Walton was also on stage for that. from Dream
I
Syndicate?
don't remember.
Again,
I don't think so, but
Okay,
don't quote me
then-
on that either. Yeah.
yeah, there was an additional person that, again, somebody's head was in the way and I couldn't see. So, but anyways, but even without that person, it was one additional person. That's a sick lineup, and they go into "Tell Me When It's Over." Michael Curcio sounded great.
Yeah, I was
I
wondering,
really liked it.
how did that 3x4 compilation version compare to the live version?
Wonderful.
Was it good?
Still,
Oh, yeah.
still spectacular.
Wow, because Michael's
And-
voice is exceptional on that recording.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, I just think it's how
Great.
interesting it is how suited his voice is for that song. So I think we talked before about kind of the range that he kind of
Right.
goes with that song, and kind of maybe approaching a song vocally in a way that he hasn't on a record before. And but hearing him sing it live, it's like it's so suited for him. Like the song is really perfectly suited for the 3 o'clock, but especially because Michael's voice is so much of what the 3 o'clock sound is.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love that low register. And then if you, I went back today and listened to the Dream Syndicate version again, just to, be fresh on it, because that's, when I was trying to compare it to save it for later. But, Michael really does his own thing on that.
Totally.
Yeah, with the low register, and then he goes up to the high, where, Steve and his is, more of a steady lower register throughout the whole thing. It just is astounding to hear
Yes.
it live. It was great. And then during the, the jamming part of it, my favorite rock star on earth drops to his knees,
And he's
And-
just going.
just hair's flowing and
Yes.
jamming like no tomorrow. And after the show, Matt Pucci's like, Michael Curcio, rock star, and just like the horns up sign with his hand. And I'm like, yeah.
Nice.
I mean, and he wasn't kidding. It was out of appreciation. Like, that was sick. That was so great.
And like Michael was in his own moment, in his own world, because at one point Lewis comes over like to jam with him, and like he's just going on that
Yeah,
beat.
yeah.
And then like from the other side, Steve Wynn gets closer to him to do the same thing, and Michael's like, he's just in his own place. It was, and then like of course things I haven't seen from Michael I'm seeing now, like it's like he dropped to his knees and he's just going, and then at the end he gives that leap, that little jump, boom, boom, right before the song ends. I mean, it was fantastic.
Nice.
Fantastic. And all these proper guitarists on stage, and it blew you away.
Wow.
Cranked. It was great.
Oh. And then last song is Dream Syndicate. And so Steve Wynn takes the mic, and he thanks everybody for coming. He puts in a plug for the Amoeba show the next day.
Nice.
And then he says, we haven't talked about this song. And he looks at Vicki Peterson and he goes, I don't think we have to talk about it. So on stage is Steve Wynn, Jason Victor, Dennis Duck, Mark Walton, Vicki, Sue, Matt Pucci, Derek C.,
Wow.
and Danny Benair.
Wow.
So it was a really cool group, and they go into Hero Takes a Fall. Thoughts, anyone? Dean, Joy?
Okay, you kind of cut out there.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was disappointed that Suzanne and Vicky were not mic'd. I don't know if you can hear them where
Yeah,
you
the
were
mic
sitting,
was
but
off. The mic was off.
I kept waiting for the little backing vocals and some of the oohs and ahs to kick in, and I turned to Joy. I go, their mic's off, and I don't know if it was super low or if it just was off.
Nah, I think it was off completely, because when Steve went over there, he finished the song, unfortunately, on that mic, and I couldn't hear any of it.
The three of them were on that mic, and Jeff, you couldn't hear anything.
Ah.
It was
So now, I had mentioned before that song was one of the ones I had trouble with because it was so iconic
Yep.
for me personally.
Yep.
And also in that same discussion, I also said that I think the Dream Syndicate is one of like the best live groups I've ever seen
Yeah.
in my life. Okay. That was great.
You liked it live.
When he was at, I loved it.
Wow.
I loved it.
It was a really, I mean, the music side of it, I mean, bummer about the mic, but man, it was good. And I can't rave enough about Jason Victor. That guy is just sick on stage. That guy is so good. And he was going off. It was going off. It was a fun and really energetic way to end. So like we kind of went, Sue Hobbs, we went with the Bangles, this kind of mellow setting. Rain Parade just, blew the windows out the joint. And then 3 o'clock keeps it going. And then Dream Syndicate ends it on this really like powerful note. And then they all get on stage and say goodnight. And then, we're all just kind of staring at one another like, wait, what just happened? And why do we have to go? What? That's not fair.
And then they say
Everybody, I kept hearing them say, there's got to be more. And then as we were kind of headed toward the door, I saw Diane Benair, Danny's wife, and said hi to her and stuff. And she's like, don't you want more? I'm like, yes, I want more. She goes, there's got to be more. I'm like, tell your husband.
See?
I know he wants it. I know Danny wants it.
Yeah, no, he does. Yeah, he does.
Shoot.
So
it was really good.
So did they do any kind of meet and greet, or did the band hang out afterwards, or did everybody just pretty much split?
No meet and greet, no signing.
Okay.
However,
I mean, they were out there, and people did, grab people and have them sign stuff, but it wasn't very much of that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, you can't.
Yeah.
But they started unplugging the gear. They started rehabbing the room. So what was cool for me was watching. There were a lot of people like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're here. And so I guess it was just a lot of not just fans, but friends, people who had been part of the scene, who had some connection to the bands, and they were all there. It was just nice to see that in this intimate setting. And so after the show, like I waited, I got a chance to say hi to Matt Pucci. I was really, really happy about that. And I waited around for a while to say hi to Steve Wynn, both were super, super gracious. I had seen Michael before the performance. Those Bengals, they're elusive, but don't worry. I'm tenacious too, Susanna. So I'm going to get them at one point. But everybody was just in a great mood. And it seemed to me, and I don't know, Dean and Joy, did you sense the same thing I did? It's like they didn't want the evening to end.
Well, I did.
Well, I wasn't sure if it was me or if it was me or them, but yeah. And I think that, something like this is a perfect kind of catalyst for something after this. I mean, because they all vibe so well together on stage, and it was interesting because, at one point everybody from every band was represented on the stage at one time. Like when the Rain Parade played, that they're musicians. They want to play. They want to do interesting things, and I can't imagine them not wanting to at least do something more in a larger live element.
Yeah.
Because what a great full concert that would be in a collaborative sense.
Can you? I absolutely agree. Joy said something to me. Joy and I were sitting next to each other, and Joy at one point turns to me and she goes, "They need to do something more with this because we just don't have the gift of time. Like, we can't just say, oh, later, later, later. The time is now. Yeah. They're all here now. They're all still playing now.
Here,
and the songs are already written.
Right. And especially since, this has been a tough month or two, with, the loss of Gary Stewart. there was a lot of kind of um, melancholy about, I wish he knew how much he was appreciated. And people have all these amazing stories about who Gary Stewart was and what he represented, not just as a person, as a friend, but also as someone who supported music in Los Angeles and supported it, globally.
Right.
And so what Joy's comment really hit me is like, we appreciate these bands. We've talked about it. We've gotten together. We've, been at concerts, and we appreciate them. And it's good to see them appreciate each other. And I would hope that they take advantage and capitalize on the moment, because, like Joy said, time moves forward, and they are all still here. And so why not?
Why not, indeed?
Why not? More live shows.
Yes. So, question: was Rodney in the audience? Did you guys?
I didn't see him.
No?
Did you?
I didn't
No,
see him
I don't
either.
believe he was there.
Well, I have a question for you guys. Thank you for the recap. That was awesome. It sounds like a wonderful evening. But I wanted to ask each one of you individually, if you had to say that one moment, one song, one answer, one highlight for the event, the top of the list for each of you, what would that be? So, Dean, what?
Oh, good gracious.
Yeah, well, Bengals, talking in my sleep, just again, there was something transcendent about it. And it was something a little bit extra magic in that performance for me.
Nice. Joy, what about for you?
Well, the rain parade blew me away, but I got to go with my boy Michael and the 3 o'clock. To reproduce that, especially in having it be something so, like Dean was saying, so not his usual range and all of that, to hear it live, and I knew he could do it. I knew he could do it without help of modern technology that he loves now. But hearing it live was really, really special.
And he pretty much did that in
and
the
his
studio.
rock star persona.
Oh, totally.
He must have.
And what's that hair? His hair. I'm so jealous of all that hair that man has.
Oh man, I'm telling you, I kept we had dinner beforehand, and I swear I could barely keep my hands off of it.
It's just
It's so soft and luxurious.
Joy and I were with him before the show for dinner, and we kept talking about his hair, and I just couldn't stop staring. But Jeff, this is rock star times 3.
Nice.
3 wardrobe changes for Michael Curcio.
What was
For
it?
the panel discussion, he was wearing a really cool striped sweater, white and black striped sweater. Then for the performance, he was wearing this really, really sweet pink shirt. And was it just 2 changes? Oh no, and then after.
Or what did he wear for dinner? Oh
yeah, and that's right.
Yeah,
For dinner, I saw him in
He
something
had a
else.
striped t-shirt.
Striped t-shirt and jean jacket.
Yeah.
Nice.
Total rock star. Love it. I love it.
Giving Cher a run for her money, right?
That's right. I think he was inspired by all those Backstreet Boy costumes.
Totally.
They were on display. Sorry, Michael, I'm kidding.
Nice. So, Soraya, what about for you? Your highlight moment?
For me, it was the Rain Parade and Friends. That was just ridiculous.
The
That
orchestra.
performance was so good. And for me, in part of the panel, I really, really enjoyed this discussion about these tracks that inspired other tracks.
Wow.
I really liked that part of the discussion. I thought it was cool. I
Yeah.
mean,
So did I.
look, this was a great event. For those of you who live in the Los Angeles area, the Grammy Museum, when they put these things together, I mean, look at Dean. Dean's been to over 30 of them. I think I can count on one hand the amount I've been to. I've been to about 3 or 4. These are fantastic. And for those of you who live in Los Angeles or are planning to travel to Los Angeles and didn't get to see this show will be archived at the Grammy Museum, so you can still visit the museum and see it. So you'll be able to hear the panel discussion and see the performances if you really want to, and I think you should.
I will.
That's a field trip. We're
Yes.
going.
Yep.
Nice.
Ah, My heart's bursting. I'm so happy right now.
Well,
Just reliving it.
I'm so bummed that I missed it, but I'm really glad I got to live it through your 6 eyes. So thank you guys for sharing your experiences and what you guys saw there. So I feel like I got part of it.
Good.
Awesome.
Dean and Joy,
Fun.
you guys rock. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank
Oh,
you.
you're
guys.
welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
So when should
Yeah.
we get together again, Jeff?
The next show.
Yeah, I think so.
Or maybe after the Salvation Army listening party.
Oh, that's
Ooh,
we haven't told
that'd
you
be
guys.
fun.
We talked with Troy Howell and we talked about the possibility of going to the same park and listening to the Salvation Army live album that came out for Record Store Day. So we'll have to schedule that
Fun,
and
fun,
we'll let you
fun.
know. We'll give you an invite.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah, I
should
haven't
be
heard
fun.
that yet.
Can
So
I make
please include me in on that.
Yeah,
Totally, man.
Can I make a shameless plug?
please do.
Please.
Please do. If you're in the Los Angeles area, Michael's other band, Permanent Greenlight, is playing at the Redwood Bar in downtown LA, May 26th. Tickets are on Eventbrite. Come join us.
We're going to be
You can
there.
also-
You guys are all going to be there, right?
We are.
Of course.
So I will see you then.
Yes.
You can also visit the Permanent Greenlight page on Joy.
Facebook and Instagram.
Yes, Permanent Greenlight. And you want to see this show because for now, this is the only show scheduled for 2019. Yes, no, maybe so.
So far.
Interesting. For now, the only confirmed one. So, ladies and gents, if you live in LA, come. And if you don't live in LA, Southwest got flights, boo.
Yes.
Yes.
Right on.
Get your ticket and come. It'll be fun, and maybe we'll have to get together after that show.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
See
you.
you
so
guys
Alright.
there.
Yes. We'll see
All
you
right.
there.
Bye, everybody.
Okay.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
All right.
You
Bye
too.
bye.
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 Soraya, thank you so much for taking such extensive notes.
That's me being a teacher, man. I couldn't not do it because I wanted to kind of preserve the moment in time for you. But it was a great event. I was bummed and Mapucci when I talked to him and Steve Lynn, they said, it's too bad Jeff's not here, but everyone totally understood. But I'm glad that you got to kind of walk through it.
Yes.
And, to know that video is accessible and there, I think just makes it, it still makes it an experience.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go check that out for sure.
One of the things I just want to leave with, I was really, one of the things that made me reflect after this event was you and I have been really lucky to talk to a majority of the people that make up these bands.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the stories that they shared, I was happy that we had also heard them on our podcast. And Steve Wynn said, and I'll have to share with you, and we'll share it on the Paisley Stage page. I was really grateful to get a little photo in, and hopefully this weekend Jeff and I will be able to get photo with Rain Parade. He said, thank you for what you're doing and for continuing to promote the musicians, the bands, and the musicians in the scene. It was nice to see everyone together, and I'm glad that we've had a chance to talk to so many of them, and I hope, this just opens the door for more.
Yes. Yes. Well, it's easy when you love what they do, right? And
100%.
and when they turn out to be such good people, that's icing on the cake.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
Ah,
All right. Well,
all right, Jeff. Well, gente, a grubear.
groove on, Paisley people.
Later.
virtue. For you is the one fatal flaw. Sitting on your thumb, drinking, thinking, sure it's heard your call. The story is not yet in. Yeah, here it comes, and I won't feel sad at all. The hero takes the fall. The hero takes the fall.